Hi, Room 10. It is math time, and please excuse any banging. They are still working on the roof, so I never know when they're going to walk over our heads. But we are going to do some more shapes today, and we've been working and talking about two-dimensional shapes, things like triangles and rectangles, and those are flat shapes. There's an up and there's an across, 1, 2 dimensions to it. Well, we are moving on to three-dimensional shapes today. And for three-dimensional shapes, we have things like a cube. There's an up, 1 dimension, across, 2 dimensions, but then there's depth. It goes back. So that's the 3 dimensions of a three-dimensional shape. Think of a three-dimensional shape as a solid object, like this. And so this is our three-dimensional shape. And the first one we are going to talk about is this cube. A cube is a three-dimensional shape. The other shape we are going to talk about is a rectangular prism. Think of it kind of like the shape of a box. A lot of things are boxes. We're going to start with the cube though. And what I want you to think about with a cube is the face. The flat side of a cube is called its face. And for a cube, I want us to think about how many faces the cube would have. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I think there's 6, but it's kind of hard to keep track, isn't there? It can be a little tough. So one of the most famous cubes out there, a die. And remember, cubes don't all have to be the exact same size. There's still a cube, still a three-dimensional object. But die can help us a lot to figure out how many faces. So I'm going to use this die. What number does a die go up to? That's right. A die will go up to 6. And that tells us that a cube does have 6 faces. So I'm going to put that down. A cube has 6 faces. Now, cubes also have vertices, just like our two-dimensional objects. And it really means the same thing. It's a corner. I'm going to use the bigger one. So I can kind of keep track of the corners. I see corner, 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 and I see some corners down here. So I'm going to count. I'm going to hold it still so I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The cube has 8 vertices. So let's double check with this cube. Here we go. I'm going to hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 also. So every cube is going to have 6 faces and 8 vertices. Let's jump over to our rectangular prism. Oh, and what's the difference between a cube and a rectangular prism? Think for a moment. That's right. Every face on a cube is a perfect square, meaning the sides are all the same length. With a rectangular prism, you have some rectangles. They're not all square faces. So let's count for our rectangular prism. Let's count the number of faces. And it's a little easier to keep track because they're not all exactly the same. So I'm going to hold it here. I'm going to go with these long ones, and then I'm going to hit the 2 ends. So I'm going to start on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait a minute, that's the same as the cube. Let's try this rectangular prism. I'm going to hold it this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rectangular prisms also have 6 faces. Any predictions on how many vertices, how many corners a rectangular prism will have? Think. Okay. So we're going to look at the 2 ends. So we're going to do the corners on this end and then the corners on this end. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cubes and rectangular prisms both have 6 faces and 6 vertices. And they are three-dimensional shapes that are solid shapes. Today, you are going to be making your own cube and rectangular prism. I have sent your grown-ups a copy of this. This is called a net, and it's a net for a cube. I'm holding it upside down. The cube down here. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We see all 6 of the faces. Now, your parents have this one. This is a straight net. They also have, now I printed it back to back so I would save paper. There's also a version of the cube where there are little tabs. You can use either version you want to. I'm going to recommend the tabs just because it holds together a little bit longer, but the tabs are just extra. So this is a net for a cube. Think of the net as being a pattern, like if you were sewing something. I've also sent your grown-up a copy of a net for a rectangular prism. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 faces. They also call it a cuboid. That's another math term for a rectangular prism, but we're going to use the term rectangular prism. Also, there's one that has tabs. I recommend using the version with the tabs to make your shape. Now, we are going to start with this, and I'm going to show you really quickly how to do it. You are going to cut, you're going to take a pair of scissors, and you are going to cut around the edge. Make sure you do not cut the tabs off. When you are done, you will have something that looks like this for the cube. And you'll have something that looks like this for the rectangular prism. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fold on each of the lines. It doesn't matter which direction you fold, but they should all go the same way. You're going to fold on all of the lines. Just make it nice and foldy so it's all kind of bent up. I have pre-folded it to make it go a little bit faster. And then you are going to fold this into a cube. This is my suggestion, and I'm very embarrassed to say that I do not have any regular tape, so I'm using pieces of masking tape. I don't have any tape in my whole apartment. Fold one together, and then just take a little piece of tape and tape it down. Fold another piece up, kind of like that. Take a little piece of tape and tape it down. Then I'm going to fold these up. I take a little piece of tape and I tape them down. Oops. Yours will look so much better if you have regular tape. And finally, it's almost kind of like, it's like you have a box and you get to put the lid in, and then you can tape that down. And you have made your own cube, just like this. And you can go ahead and you can count the faces on your cube, you can count the vertices, and you can, if you want to turn this one into a die, you can write numbers on it, 1 through 6. And you'll do the same thing with the rectangular prism, and then you will have your own shapes. Just like I have. That's actually almost the same size, isn't it? Anyway, so today we learned all about three-dimensional shapes. We learned about the cube and the rectangular prism. We counted how many faces, surfaces, flat surfaces there were on both of those three-dimensional shapes. And we counted how many vertices, how many corners there were. I will see you next time. Have fun making your shapes. Bye.